explore. And I started researching myself online and finding out about all these things that I'd done. And I suddenly realized that a lot of stuff had gone past. But when you're doing it, when you're doing these sessions and when you're working with these great people, it kind of goes flashing by. You just, you're looking always ahead. You're always looking to the next gig, whatever. And I didn't take much notice of it, but starting to do the research, I started to realize that, there were probably 500 albums.
My God.
And, there's a good site. It's probably the same one you're looking at now.
Yeah.
To do research on myself and look at all these things that I've been doing.
Yeah.
And some of them I'd completely forgotten about. But once you've reestablished, opened the door into that area of your life, then it comes back, and I wrote it all down.
Yeah. I think you had maybe a out of body experience, or people that sometimes are kind of dying or leaving their body. Yeah. They see they examine the whole life. That's where you're very, like a movie of the whole life, and you can backward, forward, and it's amazing that you were to wake up and write the stuff down for 3 days, and because
I couldn't stop. Once I started, it was like a drug. I just wanted to find out more.
Yeah.
But it was a very strange experience, and it didn't happen before, and it hasn't happened since. So it was definitely something weird.
Well, I'm glad that happened to you, because that was kind of the beginning of the book. But 500 records. So you have most of them, or all of them, or some of them?
No, I don't. I started to collect vinyl copies of everything that I played on up to about 1984, 5.
Yeah.
Then it got difficult, and I stopped doing it. I wish I had, but I didn't.
Yeah, that's what you listen at home nowadays? You listen to other people's music and you vinyl CDs, or?
No, I don't have a player at home.
You don't?
No, I don't. I wish I had, but I don't have a vinyl player. I should get one, because I still had those albums from the the 80s that I played on. I love vinyl. I love the sound of vinyl. It's brilliant.
Oh, so absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's very good. I have, like I mentioned to you before, I have a huge music collection. I mean, for me, I don't like digital much. Well, the quality it's different from vinyl, but for me, like opening the vinyl, seeing the picture, seeing the inserts, it's a beautiful thing,
Yeah,
as opposed to nowadays, the young kids, like my son, who is 19, right? He download stuff. They don't buy CDs. And they listen to 10 seconds. Next. That's kind of weird way of music.
It was the joy. I remember, there was a friend of mine had a big system in his home, and we would all go out. We'd all go around there and drink a few beers and listen to the new Stevie Wonder album or wherever,
Yeah.
And just enjoy it. 20 people in a room all saying, "Oh, yes, this is a fabulous tune," blah, blah, blah. And that kind of interaction, that feedback, people don't do it anymore. It's a shame.
The people, they consume, and then you need to turn the vinyls the other side and listen and compare. Hey, I like the second. Let's put it again, and it's very, very different. Very different experience that listen to vinyl than play to kind of stuff. So how then in '93 you assemble a band called Spin. I think the first one and two, right?
Spin 1, 2, yeah.
Yeah, with Phil, with Steve, man, Tony Levin.
Yeah.
My God, man.
And Paul Carrick, yeah.
And Paul Carrick as well, yeah. Those are big names, man.
Well,
plus yourself, of course.
It was one of those things. I mean, that was born out of a conversation I had with a good friend of mine who worked at that time for Sony Music in Milan. And I'd finished the Dire Straits thing, and we were sitting having lunch, and he said, "What do you want to do now?" And he said, "Why don't you make a solo album?" And I'd never considered doing a solo album. I don't really think I'm cut out for a solo album. So so we came up with the concept of Spin 1-2, which basically was an album of covers before everybody was doing an album of covers. And he said, well, you put a band together, and I wrote a few names down on a napkin at lunch, and he said, well, you contact your friends, which was Steve Ferroni, Tony Levin, Paul Carrick, and the producer was a guy called Rupert Hine, who I was very friendly with. And he said, you talk to the guys, I'll get the finance from Sony, and let's do it. And that was the start of that. And we spent 1 week in the studio putting the album together, and everything was pretty much put down live, including some of the vocals where Paul was playing Hammond and singing live at the same time. And it was a joyous week's work, and everyone had a great time. And then you hear it from the vinyl, it's live. It's good
Absolutely. Fun. Were the sales of that particular vinyl were okay? I mean, the Sony ended up recording that investment in a way, or
they did okay, I think. I mean, it was one of those things. There was a record company issue because promotion for an album like that, apparently, I've learned in retrospect that it should be financed by the country that it's released in. And because it was financed initially from Italian Sony, they didn't have the budgets to distribute it worldwide. But it did okay in the countries it got released, and it's become a kind of a cult album. And people ask me still today when we're going to do Spin 1-2 too. And we have the conversation every now and again with Steve and with Tony. The problem with putting a band together like that again is that everyone is so busy.
Yeah.
To get everyone in the same place at the same time is very difficult. So,
yeah.
But it may never say never. It may still happen.
Yeah, Tony is playing with these two buddies, with the Stickman, with Mastelotto and Mark Reuter. And then he's going to be joining Peter Gabriel again from his tour starting in June next year. So, right, like you say, it's hard to, put all of them together in a room for a week and no instructions. It looks good on paper, but it's difficult to do. All of them are playing with other bands, playing with other people, doing other stuff, making a little bit of money and different scales. Some people, they don't want to play anymore. They're okay. And
everyone's up for doing it. It's just we can't actually physically get everyone together at the same time. We did try a couple of times.
Yeah.
But it's impossible. It seems impossible at the moment.
Yeah, well, feel free to elaborate on creating the Dire Straits legacy. You will play with Alan Carr, Trevor Horn, Danny, Mel Collins, Steve, Marco. Man, those are big names, man.
It was a strange little thing that came about by accident, really. The guy that put it together is Italian, right? And his name is Marco Caviglia.
Yep.
And I think it's before I started living here, but he invited a few of us. He was a Dire Straits nut, Mark Knopfler nut, actually. And he spent a lot of his life studying Mark's technique and learning all the Dire Straits catalogue. And he had a couple of tribute bands to Dire Straits tribute bands. But he was always looking above that. And he invited us, a couple of us, over to Rome to see the tennis tournament. There's a big tennis tournament every April in Rome. And so I arrived to see that tournament, and also John Illsley was there from Dire Straits, and I think Guy Fletcher and Alan Clark, and maybe Danny too, I can't remember. I mean, it was the first time we'd all seen each other since the end of the Dire Straits tour, and it was a great, it was a great chance to see everybody again after all that time. And we sat down and we had a boozy lunch, and after the third bottle of red wine, Marco came up with the idea of putting a band together to play a Dire Straits set, and everyone said, "Oh, that'd be ridiculous. Never work out." But later on in the evening, we all kind of agreed to do it. And Marco put together a gig just outside Rome. And we did like 2 hours rehearsal. Everybody remembered the tunes anyway. And and 10,000 people showed up at this venue, right? And
really?
We were completely shocked at the level of excitement about Dire Straits being together again. Except it was without Mark Knopfler, of course.
Sure.
And so we did this gig, and we all kind of looked at each other, and we said, maybe we should do a few more of these.
We're doing okay,
And so it was born then. I mean, I'm talking 10 years ago, and gradually it came together, and we started to do proper tours, and we explored South America, because Dire Straits had never been to South America.
All right, yeah.
So we went down there, and we were playing football stadiums, just like Dire Straits.
Which countries in South America, do you remember? Or?
Brazil primarily. Well, we worked in Chile and
Argentina.
Yeah.
And you guys, go ahead. And you guys were recently here in the United States. I think you play in New York in August.
Yeah,
August this year, right?
Yeah, we'll do a couple of little jaunts every year, and next year looks very promising, because they want us back in South America again for a month, and we'll probably tie that in with the north, hopefully the west coast of America this time. And it's an ongoing thing. People just love Dire Straits music. They love Mark Knopfler's songs, and it's a joy, to look down into the audience and see everybody singing the songs that you're playing.
Absolutely.
The interesting thing is, it's not just people of our age; it's young kids too, who are fascinated by that period of music, and either through their parents or through their own research.
People love good music. That's the thing. I was I saw before Genesis ended retiring. Like I told you before, I saw Genesis 4 times last year, and I flew to London to see the last 3 shows of Genesis at the O2, and they are 3 generations. People like the 50, 60, that they have the kids that are in the 30s. They're bringing their own kids that are 18, 20. So you see, people that really like music, and not just people in the 50 or 60.
It's encouraging, because it means that we can continue doing it.
Yeah.
And we've got an audience, and as you say, it's the songs. It's marking off the songs that it's just snapshots of people's lives in there, And
absolutely. Yeah.
People weeping, when you play Romeo and Juliet or something like that. It obviously meant a great deal to them when they were 18 or
18, 20, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any? So you mentioned that you will be touring on South America and then the West Coast in United. Any possibility that Mark may be joining that?
No. Mark's very happy doing what he's doing. He's in the studio now. In fact, Danny's in the studio with him at the moment. And he's, Mark's problem was, and I remember having the conversation with him when I was on tour with Dire Straits. He said that he missed the intimacy of playing to an audience, and he said he didn't like doing the big football stadiums.
Cool.
He said there was no intimacy. He said he didn't feel there was anything coming back from the audiences. So that's when he decided, he wanted to scale back to do smaller venues just as himself. And that's what he's been doing for the last 20 years.
Yeah, and obviously playing a big venue, the money is much, much better, of course, because you get different kind of money versus small. But
not a consideration for Mark.
Yeah, but if you have done well in your life, then right.
Yeah, I mean, he still loves to play music, and he still loves to make albums, but he doesn't want to do the big venues anymore. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. You looking back in your life, you think that you have changed, or people that you wish you have played with, although you have played with everybody in town, man. It's
One of my big influences throughout my musical career has been Donald Fagen of Steely Dan.
oh, still there.
And I love Steely Dan. I love their music. I love his music. And that's one thing that's an ambition that I still have, is to do a Steely Dan album or a Donald Fagen album. I would love to do that. If he's listening, Donald, here I am.
Any way you can contact the guy, or I saw them. They were touring this year. I saw them a couple of times. The gig is unbelievable. So well polished. They were like,
they're amazing.
10 to 15 musicians. Everybody played the parts. The ticket was expensive, but people were so happy. Very, very polished. Very well done.
It's beautiful. I mean, the songs are beautifully crafted. The chords are always interesting. The lyrics, even the lyrics of Steely Dan songs, are a little journey into somewhere that you've never been. And I love that. I would dearly love to do something like that, something complex and a music that you can really get inside.
No, absolutely, man. And feel free to mention, before I forget, that when the time you end up meeting Frank Zappa.
Oh yeah,
that's a good story too.
That was an interesting little thing, and it was just another session. It was early on in my session career, and I'd established a reputation, and this thing came up, and for an Indian violin player called El Shankar, who's still very active. I think he worked with Peter Gabriel quite a bit, and he was in London to do an album, and it was another session. It was a week session at a place called Advision Studios, right in the centre of London. And I remember arriving on a Monday morning. It was raining, 10 o'clock in the morning, and walking into the studio, setting up my stuff. And I looked into the control room, and Frank Zappa was sitting there, and I didn't know he was going to be there.
Wow!
But he was the producer, and he enjoyed the music of El Shankar and decided that he wanted to produce it. And it was a fascinating week. It was really quite complex music. There's a track on that album called Darlene, which is about 3 minutes long, and it's based upon an Indian raga. So the time signature is variable, shall we say. But it's based on a kind of an Indian piece. And it's, for us at the time, I remember being amazed by it and confused by it. And so was the drummer on the session, who's Simon Phillips.
Oh, yeah.
Simon. Still works with Toto, I think. But even Simon was having real problems with it. And Simon's a great reader. He can follow anything.
Yeah.
But we all had problems with it because it was so complex. But it turned into a glorious piece of music. It took us 3 days to get it right. And this is before the days of digital editing, of course. So, everything was played.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get it right, then you had to re-record it again. We did 70-something takes of it, and finally we got it right. Yeah. And it's a great little piece of music. And if anyone's, you want to check it out, it's fascinating. It's called Harley.
I interviewed Simon Phillips. He's a very nice person too, as well.
Yeah,
he used to be with Toto, and then he's doing his own thing. And man, Frank Zappa is amazing, man. And 70 takes.
70 takes of that song, over a couple of days,
My God, man.
It's great. It's a great little thing. And, if anyone wants to check it out, I mean, the time signature is insane. It starts off in 5/8, but goes all over the place. And there's an 11/16 bar in there somewhere. And it's not the sort of thing you can even count. You kind of just have to learn it. But the only way to do that is to keep doing it over and over again.
Until you get it right. Feel free to elaborate on the Tears for Fears. You did the Hurt in 1983, and then in the 205 Songs of the Big Chair. how it's like to be with those guys in the same room?
Again, it was a fascinating and unique experience. The first album I did with them, it was the start of MIDI and all that stuff, and the whole music business became obsessed with MIDI and things triggering other things, and drum machines triggering everything. So it was. I remember walking to the control room at a place called the Farmyard, and there were cables everywhere, things joining, MIDI cables joining things up to other things, and all this stuff going on. And it was my first kind of experience of being a kind of organic player, to walk into something that was modern and where the music business went eventually. And so it was an interesting experience, but great. I mean, I loved Tears for Fears. I think Songs from the Big Chair was my favorite album of the 80s. It's a great album.
I agree, man. Yeah. For me, like I told you before, I have a wide range of stuff. I like the music. I don't like, but there's the Genesis, the Pink Floyd, Peter Gabriel, Pat Benatar, Blondie, Coldplay, Eric Clapton, blah blah blah, right? And there's bad music, according to me, but there's a lot of great music there. And the two albums, that album in particular, for Tears for Fears, it's unbelievable. Both.
It is.
Yeah,
it was groundbreaking.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. What's your take on, at the time we used to live in the analog world, and we went to digital, and then, well, you don't do that many takes, we can fix it, we need a programmer, and we take one part here, we take one part, people glue together via computer. Before, you used to use a tape, take that with a scissors, so to speak, right? And then somebody glue it together and then play, right? So
that's exactly how it worked. Yeah. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It was great for some things, and the ability to cut and paste and all that stuff. But at the same time, it made music kind of predictable, because everything, if you copy and paste a drum loop, for example, there's never a surprise. Trevor Horn has a very interesting view on it. He said that as soon as you start doing that, then the music becomes kind of invisible, because there's never a surprise in there. And he deliberately puts when he's doing a production, he will put a 5/4 bar in there just to wake the people up, just to say, hang on, this is not just a piece of computer work. It's it's music. It's art. Yeah. And that's the thing that I don't like about the digital age. Is music has become too accessible, and there's no mystery anymore. When you walked into a session back in the 70s and 80s, it's a kind of chemistry would happen, because of the people that you're working with, or the situation, or the song, or wherever it may be. That doesn't happen anymore, because people can work and record an entire thing on their laptop, and there's never any interaction with other players.
And that's the interaction that makes a recording unbelievable, right? Out of this world. No swapping files, send you a file, you are in Alaska, you are in China, you are in Tokyo, and
it's all brilliant in that respect, because you can record a piece of music in 5 different countries simultaneously, but if you don't have the interaction with a few guys in a room all together bouncing ideas around, then for me that's what made music great.
Like to mention a couple names, like you were in the front room with Iggy Pop and David Bowie, and then some year later Sakamoto and David Sylvian. The memories that you have there are, of course, very different, right? So
it's chemistry,
Yeah.
At the moment, and you never knew what was going to happen, and it was unpredictable and special.
Yeah, absolutely. The Pet Shop Boys, You did the 203, 206, the fundamental, concrete, miracle, minimal. How's like to work with those guys? Man?
I loved it, actually. I mean, Neil is a bit of a genius, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Neil Tennant, isn't he? He's great fun. He's great fun to work with. And he was, because of all of their previous product had been kind of computerized and stuff, he was fascinated by me in the fact that I could latch onto a piece of his music, his idea, and make it work. You know, he'd never really experienced that before. And we got on extremely well, and I had great fun doing that album. Again, it was Trevor Horn production, so they're always good fun. You know?
Yeah. How it's like to be with Trevor? Trevor, I mean, the guy is so unbelievable. I mean, he was like a revolutionary.
Yeah.
80s and above, you know, and after that, he was unbelievable guy, man.
I keep seeing a quote. I mean, he's just released a book himself called Inventing the 80s or something. And I think he did. He invented the music.
Oh, he did, yeah.
I think he really did. The stuff that he did with Seal and Grace Jones and that early stuff that he did was just amazing.
Yeah, and he really recently released a book. I'm trying to get a hold of him to see if I can interview. The guy was, he was way ahead of the time. He did stuff that nobody ever thought about doing at the time.
Totally. And he, you know, Trevor's smart. He's always surrounded himself by good young engineers and musicians, and he collects all that information from around him and comes up with these great ideas.
Yeah, unbelievable. What you did an album not a long time ago where you play with it. It's a band from Ireland called Clannad. Do you remember?
Wow, that was another Trevor Horn thing. Yeah, I mean,
I really love that band as well. I like a lot of music for different. Yeah, so it was another Trevor Horn. My God, man.
And that was an interesting crossover because, you know, Clannad is traditional Irish music.
Of course it is. Yeah.
And with Trevor behind the controls, it took on a different kind of angle, but it was great fun, and I like them a lot. I'm a big fan of traditional Irish music anyway. I mean, it's part of my early experience was in Ireland. I did a couple of Irish albums, notably with that guy I already mentioned called Paul Brady.
Yeah.
But a couple of other things. Gay and Terry Woods was one of the first albums I ever worked on, and it was really traditional. And I did it in Dublin, and I learned how to drink Guinness, and we had a great time. And I spent a lot of time going around Ireland with various people, and just fell in love with the whole Irish thing. You know, people singing in pubs and people playing in a violin in the pub and stuff like that. It's fabulous, really.
Yeah, if you like Clannad, definitely you might know another band called Iona. I don't know if you know. Yeah. They're very good music as well. It takes a while to appreciate kind of Irish music. And Lorena McKinney also, she's from Canada. It's very good stuff. There's a lot of good music out there, man.
Yeah.
Like my wife complained, why do you keep on buying vinyl? Why do you keep on buying CDs or seeing to my show? Because it's different. You know, Chinese food is different from Italian food, or or Vietnamese food, and so forth. You know, are two different things. Yeah, it's all called music, or great music, but there's a lot of different things there. And you play with Phil Collins in the album, play well with others in 2018. How's it like to be with Phil Collins? Well, you have played with him before, but
I love Phil. I'm sad to see him these days because he can't play anymore. But things. But a lovely boy, and I really always got on very well with Phil Collins, and we did some nice projects together, including some of those house band things that I mentioned before. Yeah. And he was really conscientious. You know, he would always be the first one at rehearsals. He would always be prepared. You know, I didn't really expect that, but he'd write himself out parts, and he would learn the songs at home, and always on the ball. Very nice guy, and great player.
Yeah. Did you did any collaboration with Peter Gabriel at all, or?
I had I had a couple of days down at Real World with him early on
Real World Studios, yeah.
when he was recording Shock the Monkey. What was that album? I can't remember what album it was on, but we explored a few avenues. I think I was too mainstream for him at the time, and I remember driving away from the studio thinking it didn't go great. It didn't go very well, and I think part of the problem is that we were both quite nervous of each other.
Really?
Yeah, he's quite shy, and so am I. So we didn't really communicate on a personal level too well. So I think the music suffered because of that. The experiments that we made suffered because of that. But it's one of those things. I'd love to work with him now. I mean, I was down at Real World recently.
Really?
Doing an album, and it's a fabulous place to work.
Well, it's unbelievable. I've never been there, but I have seen the pictures, of course, the website, and it's unbelievable. All the room that they had, the red room, the oak room, and the wood mixed with metals, and
it's
very beautiful.
It's a great atmosphere down there, and a massive control room.
Oh yeah.
It's huge, and you look out over the English countryside and the river that runs through the studio. And it's a glorious place, really glorious.
How often do you go to London, or to the UK?
I've got my kids there, so I've got 2 sons, and now grandchildren. So I get there. I get there whenever I can. Yeah.
Do you talk? Now we're talking about Genesis. Play anything with Mike Rutherford, or him, or?
I know Mike Rutherford. Yeah. We did something together. What was it for? What was it for? Oh, I tell you what it was for. It was for Dave Gilmour.
Oh yeah.
Because they work together a lot for some reason. I don't understand the connection, but they're good friends, I guess. And we did. Let's see, what did we do? We did the 50th anniversary of the Stratocaster, and I was the musical director for that.
Yeah.
And we managed to persuade Peter Gabriel to come down and play a few songs, which, again, as part of the house band, I worked with him. But Phil was there as well, Manzanero.
Yeah, that's the track part for 204. That's unbelievable. I saw the list of people when I was preparing questions for the interview. It's unbelievable, the people that were there in that particular venue, and it's unbelievable, man.
It was a good night, yeah. We had fun.
All right, the George Michael.
All right.
Man, the listen without the Son of the Last Century, Patient, Live in London, Sinfonica. Man, unbelievable. How's it like to play with the guy? It's to be with him.
It was. It was a strange gig for me. I mean,
really?
The first album that I did with George was just me and him, really, and an engineer in the studio, putting very basic ideas of songs together. And so it was all acoustic guitar and George, and it was an interesting experience. And I learned very early on with George that not to try and do anything too clever or too complex, because musically he didn't want that. He wanted a blank canvas to sing on. So my function during those early days was to be the kind of wash, if you like, something that he could sing against, something that he could tune with, something that he could play around rhythmically with. And so a lot of those early songs on that album were just me and him in the studio. It was sometimes stressful,
really,
to work with George, because it's no secret he used to smoke a lot of cannabis, and sometimes he would go off into a direction which I didn't quite understand, because I didn't smoke a lot of cannabis. But it was often quite difficult to interpret what he was looking for. But we hit it off. You know, music. I suppose I worked with George for 30 years on and off. So I guess, you know, that was, he enjoyed what I did. As long as I never got in the way, you know, if I did something too distracting, he would say, nah. Because the whole thing about George Michael's songs was that it had to be George Michael on top, like a big cherry, you know. He would spend a long time developing songs to very basic backing tracks to find his best range and his best licks, his best vocal tricks and stuff like that. And that's
you need to be in the background, so to speak, so
very much so.
It wouldn't interfere with his voice pretty much, right? So
exactly, yeah. If I did anything too interesting, he would say no.
Yeah, I never, unfortunately, I never saw him play live. It's one of these two bands that I really came myself for not seeing him and David Bowie. I never saw David Bowie or
George was amazing live. It always amazed me that he was able to sing at such a high quality after taking so many drugs.
Yeah.
And he did every night. I mean, it was always off his place. It's no secret. I'm not telling any tales out of school.
That's right. And he was unbelievable. You need to take a break, or your wife calling you, or no?
No, it's fine. It's just stuff going on. That's right. I need to take a pee soon. Actually.
You want me to pause it? You want to take a water, or
let me take a pee and get a glass.
Yeah.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, the guys were talking about George Michael. It's unbelievable. As I mentioned before, I wish I have had the opportunity to see him play live, and or David Bowie. He didn't come too much to United States to play here, and so unfortunately, I missed the guy, and was unbelievable. Tina Turner, it's about a big name.
Yeah, no, I love Tina. She was, a classic, great singer, great vibe. She was great fun. I liked working with her. Did a couple of albums with her, and a European tour, which was an interesting experience.
Yeah, you did the 208, the 210, the 214 love song. What love had to do with it? It's Ben, today you have appeared in over 500 albums and over 5,000 songs. My God, man.
And that's a rough estimate, yeah.
Quite sure there's a lot more there, you're not counting.
Well, that's probably about right. I mean, that's excluding things that get re-released or remastered or whatever. So it's probably more than that.
What you released an album? I mean, the book recently. What was the motivation to doing that? I mean, get it out of your system for your kids. What was it?
Yeah, I guess it was for my kids. Although the initial spark, as I've described already, came in South America in a very strange way. But it became
Session Man. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It became. I just started to really enjoy doing it, and during periods of inactivity when I wasn't working, for example, I would spend all day just putting it together, and I found a really good guy that started to help me to edit it, because it was long originally. It was too long. I'd made a few basic mistakes. I mean, that was the first time I've written the book, so, and the guy in England helped me to edit it and put it together in a good way.
And then how long did it take the end to end, like a year or something?
About a year, I guess, yeah. Yeah, probably a year of when I wasn't working, I would be working on the book,
And then I suppose to bring memory, you need to research yourself, right? Go to the web and say, what the internet knows about Phil Palmer. And for sure, they bring a lot of memories and a lot of stuff you never even thought about or played with them,
Yeah, as I say, some of it had gone flashing by and I forgot all about it. But researching myself was interesting. because it opened memories that I'd gone basically, and you're able to. And I spoke to a few of the guys that I used to work with, and they helped me. There's a few anecdotes in the book that I'd got from other people from the period that I'd completely forgotten about.
How are the sales of the book going? They're doing okay?
It does well. It's ticking over. I mean, if I do a book signing or something, which I'm starting to do, or something online like this, I did a nice online thing for a company called Anderton's recently, which got 80,000 views or something. We sold a few books through that. So little events like that really help.
Yeah, I will put the link of your website and the link to the book so people can buy the book. The book is very good, and it it's available just in a hard copy or digital format as well. Yeah, both.
You can do it as a Kindle version.
Kindle, right? Yeah, in Amazon you can get it. Yeah.
Amazon, yeah. But it's got pictures in it and good stuff in it, so it's like an album cover. Really, it's probably worth getting just for that.
Yeah, no. I have the book upstairs, and a friend from the UK sent the book. I couldn't find it here in Amazon somewhere. Somehow I looked at the internet and a friend sent me from London. Right. It's a very, very good book. I mean, I recommend people to read. It's a whole life story, and yeah, maybe do like a signing tour in a couple of cities in Europe and go to London. Or quite sure you can.
Plan for next year. I mean, we would have done it before, but COVID put an end to that. Yeah.
Now you live in Italy now. I think you play with Renato Zero, right?
Occasionally. So that light's a bit bright, isn't it? So
yeah.
Occasionally, I did a couple of albums for Renato, and I wrote quite a few of the songs for him. So it was a different kind of hat, if you like, for me to get involved in production and songwriting. But one has to keep reinventing oneself.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I did a really nice thing for another Italian artist recently, down at a place called Caserta, which is down near Naples. An open air concert, an album that I'd recorded with Claudio back in the 80s, which was I think it's still the biggest selling Italian album ever. And it's, he decided that he wanted to do a live version of the album.
Yeah.
So he invited me down, and we had a 65-piece orchestra and 50 people in the choir. So there's 123 people on stage, and and it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It was quite challenging, but very nice.
What are you working nowadays? What's coming up for you?
What's coming up for me? Up to Christmas, not very much. I'm doing a gig on New Year's Eve here for an Italian artist called Max Gazzè, who's a bit of a friend. And so up to then, not much. I'm doing a bit of research on some book signing stuff for early next year. And Dire Straits Legacy will be going to South America in March. So that's the next stuff. I'm sort of working on an album with Trevor Horn at the moment. One of his reinvention albums where he finds songs and does new versions of them with interesting artists. So that's good.
The Trevor Horn guy is like on fire. I mean, he's reinventing himself every day.
Yeah, no, he's amazing, Trevor. He's a good chum. I mean, we worked together a lot in the last 20 years. And so, even if I just pop around for dinner, I do quite often.
Yeah.
Just to chat and reminisce.
How's your Italian coming along? Speak the language?
It's not brilliant. I mean, I can get away with it if I'm out on my own. I can pretty much get what I need.
Yeah.
But they did ask me to be a judge on an X Factor type program, and I considered it for a while, but the Italian is not yet good enough.
Your wife is from Italy, right? Correct. Yeah.
It's Roman, yeah. She's from Rome.
Yeah. So when the two of you argue, maybe she speak Italian, you speak English.
Yeah, well, you know, English. A lot of people speak English around me. So, I really should study. In fact, you know what? I did study during the first lockdown. I set aside 2 hours every day to learn Italian, and it made no difference whatsoever. It's a complicated thing. I mean, the verbs, the Italian verbs are a nightmare. The masculine and feminine thing is too complicated for my old brain.
Yeah. Well, just the language of music, that's better, right? So, two more questions. A French composer, Claude Debussy, said, "Music is the space between the notes." It took me a while to understand this stuff. Yeah. What do you?
One of my favorite musical quotes. I think it's so relevant even today.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, there's great guitar players around, you know, great young guitar players, and you can see them all online, and they can fly around the fingerboard, and they can do all this amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But then you go and watch Eric Clapton, and or someone like him, or who's my other, Derek Trucks, you know, the slide player. And you realize that he can hold one note across 3 changes, and it says so much more than all those notes that the other guy plays. It's soul, it's passion, it's feeling. That's why it's so relevant. And it's definitely something that I use as a concept when I'm doing guitar solos. It's clever to be able to play 1,000 notes in a second, but it doesn't really mean much. And I think my style of guitar playing is very much the Claude Debussy kind of thing.
I got you. Were you any of your kids are into music or no?
No, one of them's almost a doctor. He's been at university for 7 years studying to be a doctor, so he's nearly there. And the other guy, the older guy, is Oliver, is a school teacher.
Good for you. You like teaching as well? Yeah, you think you teach a little bit online for?
Yeah, I've been doing it now. I've got a couple of regular guys, and they're improving. There's one guy lives not far from you, I think, in Washington, called Lance Odermatt. And we've been working together now for 2 years. And once a week, and he's really come on a treat. He's playing really good now.
Good for you. Good for him too as well. Well, feel free to mention the book again. Feel free to show the book because I want to put a link where people can buy it and
go and buy this. It's a good read, so I understand. So people tell me.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. Plus, it's a very nice picture as well, man. So,
yeah.
You know. For people that have not read the book, go ahead and buy the book and read it. And it was very nice talking to you, Phil. And let's get in touch. And then we'd like to take you out to dinner. As I said, I'm going to be with my son, going to London, like the 3rd week of December, and then next year's to Italy a couple of times, I think. So we need to get together for dinner. We can try those great Italian food, man.
That sounds great, man. Let's do that.
Yeah, it was very nice talking to you, man.
You too, Claudio. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Talk to you again.